Hello humans and welcome back to another episode of RD2H Road to Happiness, building our dream realities one life lesson at a time. So if you are in a season of building, if you are watching this episode and you're like, I don't know when this is gonna end, I don't know if it is worth it, I don't know if this dream is actually gonna come true, I don't know if I'm fucking delusional for chasing the amount of uncertainty and risk I'm chasing right now, whether it be you're getting a degree that you are in the middle of and you're so uncertain about, whether you are starting your own business, whether you are moving to a new city, whatever it is in your life right now, I can promise you there is a light at the end of that tunnel and that you have to walk through the dark valley to get to the promised land. So if you're new here to RD2H, my name is Natalie Hernandez. I used to be a giant party girl. I used to just chase instant gratification, and that life led nowhere. It was a life of destruction. And so I got on my knees one day and I found God. And since then, I felt like I've had a purpose on my life, and I've been chasing a dream to build my brokerage career and build financial success, and documenting what it looks like to go through the isolation periods and to go through the hard parts of the journey in order to build a business and build the life that you want. And so in that, I moved to Los Angeles in this last year by myself. I came with my dog, and throughout this last year, I have had more punches in the face by life and reality than you know. I've done the whole thing pretty isolated. I had to send my dog back to Florida. I've given up my apartment, and life lesson after life lesson you can see throughout these episodes. And the whole point has been in pursuit of my dream reality, in pursuit of my dream career, and in pursuit of the best version of myself. My friends think I'm crazy. My family thinks I'm crazy. I have no money to my name. I'm in a commission-based field. I live in Los Angeles. And the whole thing from the outside looks like I'm fucking bonkers. But I know that the path that I'm on is the right path. And I'm drifting into a chapter right now where I think that we're starting to see what used to be just a dream in my head, used to be just an idea, something I was chasing, actually come into reality little by little. And so if you're running completely on faith right now, chasing a dream that lives in your head, working day in, day out, wondering when the moment is gonna come that you finally make it, the answer is never. It's never a moment that comes where you finally make it, where you end up out of the trenches, where the war finally ends. It's more like keep your head down, you grind, you follow that dream, and you do everything in your power to move yourself a little bit closer. And then one day you finally look up and you're like, wait a minute, it's not there yet. It's not built yet, but it's no longer just something in my head. There's a foundation. I can see it. It's coming into reality. And it's just the coolest thing to ever exist that you don't get to experience unless you don't quit while you're in the middle of the desert. So let's get into what it looks like when you're finally exiting isolation and exiting the phase where everything is just a dream in your head, and entering the phase where you can actually see it, where it's actually coming into real life. RD2H Road to Happiness, building our dream realities one life lesson at a time. So I said it in the last episode, I'm going to say it again. If you are following your dreams and you are building a business or a career or moving to a new city or a new life for yourself and trying to become like a different version of yourself, you have to be doing it for yourself. You have to be doing it because you want to be that person. Because doing it for external results, doing it for other people's approval, doing it for status, doing it for money, doing it because you want to be the type of person that says that you can climb a mountain, that's not going to get you there. What's actually going to get you to the top of the mountain is when you change your identity to somebody who likes climbing. So that's what I've realized lately, is that the best parts of this journey I've been on isn't exactly when I have money or when I make it or when the videos go viral, but it's the journey of seeing something that used to be just an idea in my head slowly materialize into reality day by day putting in consistent work. Like, I will keep my head down for months at a time, and I look up and I'm like, wait a minute, we are closer than we were a few months ago. Wait a minute, things are actually starting to make sense. Systems are coming into place. I see that this thing that used to be just an idea in my head, my dreams, are actually snowballing and becoming something that other people can see. So many people go through the trenches and they ultimately see the uncertainty, they see the doubt, they see the delayed gratification, they see that nothing's coming into fruition, and they run the other way. They quit before they ever see anything compound. But when you fall in love with the process and the little wins and the, wait a minute, this is better than it used to be, that's what keeps you going. And so when I moved to Los Angeles, I had all of these ideas of who I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. And I've been pursuing all of them, but it's been completely, as you can see throughout these episodes, on faith, on the fact that I know I can build my dream reality and I'm gonna do anything that I can, but it hasn't always been on evidence. There's been no evidence for a very, very long time, and I've been doing this journey completely by myself. And so when I moved here, I knew that I wanted to build a brokerage career. I knew I wanted to pursue the podcast. I knew I wanted to build friends and a life in Los Angeles. I knew I wanted to adventure. I knew I wanted to surf. I had this idea for my business called The Broker Checkup, and I knew I wanted to design a brand around the broker checkup and make it so my brokerage career was attached to that. So when people saw the broker checkup, they immediately thought, Natalie Hernandez, that's the broker. And so for the last year, I've known, and that's the hardest part, right? Just knowing where you want to go. You can't get to where you want to go. You can't build a road to where you want to go if you don't know where you want to go. So if you're still in that phase, I'd go way episodes back, all the way back to probably what do I want out of life, which I think is in the first 10 episodes. But if you know what you want to do, you know what you want, it just comes down to how long are you willing to pursue it until you get it, because it doesn't happen overnight, and it's going to take you walking through the dark valley and facing every single form of doubt, fear, uncertainty that could possibly exist, seeing how far you could push yourself and how much risk you can take before you decide that it's not for you. But if you can push past that desert, it starts to trickle in. And that's kind of where I am right now, where it's like the best feeling in the world. So am I where I want to be? Absolutely not. But in the last year, we've hit 87 episodes of RD2H Road to Happiness. The last 3 months, we've consistently posted 2 videos a week without failing, without missing. I just redesigned the homepage and it looks like a real podcast now. I finally understand the systems in brokerage. I see what they mean by territories and having to get through your territory 3 times before the system starts to pay out. I'm understanding what I need to do to find owners and real sellers. I'm doing follow-ups better. I'm creating a lead list. I'm creating an engine, and I see how my brokerage work, and I see how the business I'm building right now is an engine, and how I'm building the structure in order for it to turn by itself. Literally like building a classic car. I haven't heard my business rev yet, but I'm starting to see that when I do X, Y, and Z, it's building something that is one day going to be able to run on its own. With the whole broker checkup idea, I've been sending mailers out attaching broker checkup, but I haven't been marketing broker checkup the way that you would if you're trying to associate your name with the slogan. I started making LinkedIn videos this week where I'm talking about industrial real estate and I'm posting it, and it's actually something I can see. Broker checkup being used and marketed to other people. It's no longer an idea in my head. It's something that lives on LinkedIn, something that lives on Instagram, a real video that's starting to be distributed across the real estate industry in Los Angeles. RD2H, I can see how much production we've made. I can see how the page looks different. I can see how the videos are evolving. But before I could see any of that, before even a little bit came into real reality, it was just a dream and idea in my head that I've been working towards for years. Now, that's not to say that RD2H is a real podcast right now, and that's not to say that I have a real brokerage career, and that's not to say that people associate my name to broker checkup and that the slogan worked. It's to say that for the first time ever, I'm starting to see how it can work. For the first time ever, I'm starting to see external proof that it is working. For the first time ever, I'm seeing it materialize into reality. And so many of us want to skip the phases of success. We want to skip building. But building's the funnest part. Seeing it slowly come into reality. That's the part, that's the journey. And we can't get through to the 1 million followers if we don't get through 12. We can't get through the real business if we don't first learn the foundations. We can't create a slogan to our name if we don't post the first video. So it's the process of becoming rather than the becoming itself. And as you can see throughout these episodes, the initial push where you see absolutely no evidence that things are working out lasts years. It lasts years of your friends telling you when is it time to give up, your family thinking that you're absolutely insane for taking such a big gamble, the people around you thinking, dude, you are not an average 23-year-old, why won't you just go out and party, like why do you take life so seriously? And you just relentlessly knowing that there's a dream and there's a path for you and you don't see it yet, but it will come. And there's no skipping the trenches. But the trenches taught me something. It's been the most beautiful journey ever. I wouldn't trade this building phase for anything. I love building now. When I first got to Los Angeles, it was so much of a when I make it. When I make it, I can do this. When I make it, I can do that. When I have money, I can do this. I just need to get it off the ground. I'm going to sacrifice everything to, suffer and get it off the ground. And now it's like, wait a minute. You can enjoy the phase where it's just compounding. You can enjoy the phase where there is no evidence because you're slowly getting closer to that evidence every single day. And in the trenches where there's nothing showing external proof that you're moving forward, it's internal growth that keeps you going. That internal growth might be like you're able to handle more uncertainty today than you were yesterday. You're able to handle more doubt than you were yesterday. The fear doesn't bother you as badly. The internal growth compounds, and you have to recognize those tiny milestones before the external results ever show up. So like I said, if you're sitting there and you're wondering, when is this isolation going to stop? When is this growth period going to stop? When is the building phase going to stop? When am I going to finally make it? That's the exact moment that you have to realize that you've been moving towards it this whole time. It's going to come in little moments where you realize you're closer than you were yesterday. Little moments where you start to see it actually be a real thing. Little moments, whether it's internal or external growth, if we can't see the small steps that we take towards our goals, then the miles aren't ever going to matter. I'm walking into year 2 right now, and it doesn't feel like year 1 anymore. I'm stronger. I'm able to handle more fear. Like I said, I'm able to handle more uncertainty. I have a more clear picture of not only where I'm going, but how I'm going to get there. I have systems built. I have people around me, and it no longer feels like I'm in survival mode right now. I am about to lose this apartment, and literally 2 weeks ago I was telling you guys, I don't know where I'm gonna live. I don't know if it's gonna be a garage, a tiny house. I don't know if I'm gonna live out of my car, but I'm not giving up on this dream. And I completely accepted my defeat. I accepted the fact that I was going to move into a garage to get some more runway because I'd rather do anything than walk out on this dream I'm pursuing. And I accepted that that's what I have to do, and that's part of the journey. And God gave me a little tiny house. It's small, but it's cute. It's a roof over my head. And I wouldn't have made it this far in my journey without faith. Because the thing about building is there's never a clear view of the next 3 steps ahead of you. You just have to have a flashlight on your head, be able to see the next 1 or 2 steps that you're about to take, and trust that when you take those steps, the next steps will appear. And sometimes in entrepreneurship, in our lives, when we take risks, when we try to build a business, when we try to build a new life for ourselves, when we move to a new city, the next step doesn't seem clear, but you have to know that it always appears when you're doing the work that you need to do. The next step always appears, but it's, can you face the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that's telling you that there's not going to be another route, that there's not going to be another step. Because when you can get your mind to conquer that fear, uncertainty, and doubt, you keep going. And as long as you keep going, life always provides an option. It may not be the option that you want, but there is always another route to take. And so as all these things are coming into my life right now, the new job, the housing situation got fixed, the money situation is, I'm not rich, but I'm not worried how I'm gonna eat anymore, right? The brokerage is starting to piece together. I'm starting to understand the business. The podcast is starting to get pretty real, and I'm building a library of episodes and documentation. Broker Checkup is published. Things are coming together, and I'm entering this next chapter, as I said, where I don't think it's so much fighting and survival, but more appreciating the building and continuing to move forward. It almost makes me a little bit uncomfortable, which is something that you never think of. And if you're watching this video and you are in the middle of the trenches and you are in the middle of the walking through the dark valley, the desert, and trying to figure out if what you're doing is delusional or purposeful, you're sit there and you daydream about the day where things get easier. You daydream about the day where it's no longer survival mode. You daydream about when the grind finally ends and you arrive. But then when you start to see it come into fruition, it's almost uncomfortable, because I've been living in survival mode for so long. I've been grinding by myself for so long. I've been pushing myself without seeing any results or any external validation for so long. And now that things are starting to get a little bit simpler, things are falling into place, the uncertainty is lessening, the business is growing, the path that I'm on is becoming clearer, it's almost uncomfortable because I don't know how to live out of survival mode anymore. I don't know how to act when it doesn't feel like there's a gun to my head every single day. And that's the state I've been living in for a few years now, where it feels do or die, where it feels like there's a gun to my head. And I've learned to live with that. I've learned to live with the fear, the doubt, and the uncertainty, so that now being unlocked, because I've learned the lesson on how to deal with it, and I'm moving forward into this next chapter where things are starting to come a little bit more into fruition. It almost feels uncomfortable because I'm like roommates with it. I'm roommates with the fear. I'm roommates with the uncertainty, with the doubt. And so now that I have more certainty, I have more grounding than I did a year ago. I have more people around me than I did a year ago. I have a better idea of not only the dreams that I want to fulfill, but how I'm going to fulfill them. And I have a plan. I'm almost like, whoa, bro, this thing's becoming fucking real. Like, this thing is outgrowing me and who I am right now. And that's not to say I'm completely out of survival mode. These are just the first glimpses of external reality. These are the first glimpses of, wait, this no longer exists in my head. But it's like validation. It's proof. It's external. Oh my God, I'm building a system. Oh my God, I see the foundation. Wow, this thing is like actually coming into reality. That's almost uncomfortable when you've been fighting on faith the entire time. So we idolize and dream about when we get out of the grind mode, when we finally make it. But it's more of a gradual uncomfortability, because you have to now be the type of person that can live in the life you've built. And so thankfully that change doesn't happen overnight. You don't wake up an overnight success, because if you did, you wouldn't be able to stand in it, because you wouldn't be able to adapt. You wouldn't have time to pivot and adjust to the new environment and new circumstances as you leave one chapter and move into the next. Even when it's a good chapter that you're moving into, transitions are difficult. And so I'm finding myself a little bit uncomfortable at the fact that, whoa, I feel myself moving into another season. I feel myself growing. I feel things starting to shift in the atmosphere. And I've been in isolation, survival, growth mode for so long, like it's almost weird. It's weird to see things kind of falling into place. It's weird feeling to be like, I know things are about to get so good, and that the fruits of my labor are just starting to trickle in and manifest and become something. But who am I gonna be when they're actually something? It's almost like a bittersweet, I have to let go of the Natalie who's gotten us this far so that I can step into the one who's going to take us the rest of the journey. I'm standing in it right now. I'm standing in the edge of survival in this next chapter, and I already miss it, because that's the part of me that was the foundation. And that's the part of you that's building the foundation right now, that's going to be able to carry you into the next chapter, that's going to be able to support the dreams that you have without it crumbling. And that's what God does. He brings us into the dark valley. He brings us into seasons of hardship so that he can strip us down and build us up with the foundation that's able to carry the purpose that he has for us. Because if we did it ourselves, it would all crumble. When I first got here, if you gave me all my dreams and everything I wanted, it would have crumbled in a second. It would have gone to my head. I would have thought that I was awesome and I did it. I probably would have had an ego. I probably would have represented myself in a way that doesn't represent God. And because of the hardships and the seasons that he's put me through, and the isolation and the strength and the doubt and the fear and the uncertainty, I can now enjoy the fruits of my labor as they trickle in, because they're not here, but as they trickle in and they manifest and they become reality, I can enjoy them for what it is. An awesome journey that's really cool to see what I'm building and see it come into fruition and detach it from the outcome. But athletes, they go for first place and they feel great when they win first place, or they get a trophy, or you get an A+, or you get some kind of external validation. But what happens when that game is over, when that tournament is over? Where does the trophy go? It goes in your closet. It goes on the wall for a few years before you outgrow that phase of your life and couldn't care less that you played soccer in high school. It disappears because at the end of the day, the trophy, the external validation, it was just a piece of plastic. Why that trophy matters so much is because of all of the hours that you put in to get the trophy, all of the training, all of the tears, all of the sacrifices, all of the early mornings. That's why the trophy matters. That's why you aim for first place. That's why when you win, you get that dopamine. I could give you a plastic trophy with your name on it right now, and if you didn't earn it, if you didn't sacrifice for it, if you didn't work for it, it would mean nothing for you. But the more that you sacrifice, the more that you work, the more tears and blood that is shed over your goals, the more that trophy means. The longer that it's going to sit on the wall, the more that you're going to stare at it, because you know what you had to do to attain it. So is it really ever about the trophy? The trophy is just the end goal. Has it ever been about the trophy? Is it really about building the business? Is it really about being the richest person ever? Is it really about the 1 million followers? Or is it about how much you sacrifice, the journey that you went on, and how much work that you put into to get to that goal? So what if we just deleted the trophy and started giving it to ourselves when we see that we're moving closer to a goal? Like, why do we have to wait for an external person to give you the trophy? Why do you have to wait for the $1 million in your bank account? Why do you have to wait for the 1 million followers to tell you you're doing something good? Why don't you just give that validation to yourself when you see the micro improvements? And if you're continuously getting that dopamine from yourself because you see that you're improving and getting closer to that goal, then you're just always going to keep going after the trophy that you're always going to give yourself. And so then you'll just keep climbing. And it will never be about the validation from anybody else, but the validation that you give yourself because you see you're hitting those milestones you want to hit. That's how you enjoy the climb. That's how you love it. When you're giving yourself the trophy instead of waiting for everybody else to validate you. Yeah, super cool going into this next chapter, and I am giving myself a trophy today because I am closer than I was. I'm closer than I've ever been, and I'm nowhere near where I'm going. So I love you guys. RD2H Road to Happiness, building our dream realities one life lesson at a time. Bye.